Is this on? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's on.
It's a microphone.
It's a hot mic. Oh, no, don't say that.
So it's National Women's Month. And it occurs to me that you have an all-female C-suite at Instrument, and that's, I don't want to use the word weird, but I'm going to. It's very uncommon. So I would love for you two to introduce yourselves and to talk a little bit about what makes it so special here.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Tessa Baston. I'm the Chief People Officer here at Instrument. I've been here almost 8 years and come from a totally different background. My degree is in social work. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I mean, is it so tinny? Okay, it's just me and my voice. My degree is in social work. I came over to Instrument as when we had this team called Human Development, and we've just grown and evolved over the years to a people operations team that I run. You want to say hi?
Oh, sure.
I thought you were going to say what was special about our C-suite.
Well, you can give it back to me when you're done.
Oh, we're practiced. I'm Laurel Burton. I'm the CEO of Instrument. I've been at Instrument for 11 years, and I've been in the CEO role for this past year and a handful of months, which has been the new kind of org that has led us into the future and the instrument that we are today, which is the all-female C-suite. So from a few fun facts, there are 6.5% of CEOs in the entire world are female. And this year, there are as many female CEOs as there are CEOs named John. So we are trending in the right direction. And so what I love about this is being a female in a very male-dominated environment. Instrument's also owned by a holding company. And there is this absolute synergy when you are trying to do something that is radically different and you're surrounded by other females that have the same, in the right way, collective ego that we can do things that are different and that we don't have to explain our power to each other, that it creates this like absolute even field for all of us to not try to fight for space in a room, fight for our voice to have power. It is this, this whole concept of like come with me on a journey, the jellyfish leader, anyone? So the whole thing is like, a jellyfish has the ability, before it can propel itself forward, it sucks itself in. Like close your eyes and think of the jellyfish. And it sucks itself in order to like propel itself forward. And what we are as a female C-suite is that power, that dynamic, like we're all in that together. That umbrella, we all have the same vision. And so we create a place for us to respect each other, never have to say, are you being emotional? Which is a lot that I do get from male cohorts. And so I've actually had to like defend the way that I present myself as a leader. And when I am here at Instrument, I get to be my authentic self with the most incredible group of women, and I'm so thankful for it.
Well, that was really good. I'll just add on to that really quick, which is just to say, like, reflecting on this, I feel you more so compare to like what things were like when there were men in our leadership team, and it's just natural to see like what is not present any longer. And I think something that's interesting for me is when you have someone that is like a very strong male running a company and you are like partnering with them, you have this sense of comparing, like, okay, they're strong, so I'll compliment and be empathetic, or like they are doing this thing, so I'll partner with them to make this a little more digestible for people, and perhaps that's normal for me also in this like people operations role. But I think something that's been super interesting, and Laurel touched on it in the like, just the power that comes from like, no, empathy is a power. compare is a strength, and boy, like, it's been just so fun to elevate all of our power, you know, like intuition, all of the things that come from being a woman. I think instead of comparing and feeling like we need this other thing to counteract, it's like, no, we have it all existing within each other, and it's just the space to let it live, let it breathe, let it grow, you know, and build the power together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was it an organic thing? Did it all come together organically, all of the women, or was this something that was built intentionally?
I mean, my perception is that it was built intentionally but lined up really organically. So I think a little bit of both. You know, I think we adore and we love the founders of Instrument. They were 3 men, and they really had a mission of giving space for us to operate and learn and grow and mess up and continue growing and then do it, you know, over and over again on our own. And so I do think there was intentional mentorship to bring us all to the level that we are at today. And then the organic piece of it is just the moment of us deciding this was a priority for us, and this was something we were really proud of, and this was something that we wanted to stick to and commit to and show agencies that you can operate with a bunch of women running the show. Oh my God, women. So that's what I would say. I would say it's a little bit of both, but would you?
Yeah, I would say what's been awesome is that our founders did create a place for a lot of really strong women. They saw it, they actually knew it was it's my subjective, I think they knew it was a deficit in their kind of skill set, that they were very decisive, but they knew they needed like this deeper level of compassion, and they built a very strong female leadership around them. And so we had this incredible mentorship and opportunities. And we just recently hired a CFO, and it was intentional. The brief that I gave the hiring team was, we are looking to consistently find opportunities that represent our values and our beliefs. And our recruiter was like, well, you're asking for something impossible. You want a female, you want a C-suite that's here in Portland? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so it's those intentional decisions that we're making because we believe that when we lead with our values, that we're going to actually do something that's different. And literally people will tell you it's impossible. They literally said, we're not going to find you that candidate. Guess what? We did. We had to look for 9 months, but we did.
I was just going to ask how long it took, so thank you for the preemptive answer. You guys can woo-woo again. That was all very impressive. So you've been very intentional about the way you approach leadership within the company. You've also been really intentional, I feel, and because I'm benefiting right now, from your hospitality within the community. You guys give so much back, and I wanted to say thank you, first of all, and thank you for being here right now. But I wanted to find out if the same things that inform the decisions that you make for leadership inform the way that you show up in the community here in Portland.
I mean, I would say absolutely. I would say, and that's, I don't think new for Instrument, you know, I think it's an example that's been set to us of the importance of it. But I think we really feel conviction that our work doesn't stop within these walls, within our people, within our employees, and with our clients. You know, I think we are extremely proud of the way we navigate this business, and it would be a shame that only our people benefited from it, you know? And I think part of our mission is to make sure that, like, these opportunities are shared, this space is shared, our policies are shared, our whatever people need to, like, help empower and build their own employee base or whatever to benefit from the same things we've learned.
Portland as a community is incredibly important to me. And when we were even thinking about Instrument and our space and the way that we represented, it was really important to make sure that we were part of this community. And I have an aspiration that's like big, and I'm like, Portland is going to be seen as the #1 creative community in the world. And that's super aspirational, and that's where we have to set our bar. And in order to do that, then what are we doing to enable that? So great, it's creating access to our space. It's having incredible partners with Vanport Studios. It's having you all here to ideally see that the way that we make Portland into that creative catalyst is create platforms for voices that are typically not heard. And so when I think about the way Instrument is heading into the future, it is deeply centering ourselves as Portland as the creative community of the future, and we do that by enabling these type of conversations. You know, I grew up in the backwoods of Alaska, and I did not know places like this existed until much later in my life. And so if I can think about how can we accelerate the timeline for younger Gen Alpha, Gen Z, everyone to see this and have them have an opportunity to be part of what we're doing. My son, his friend, I remember in high school said, I just wish there was something else that I could do. Like, could I take photographs for a living? And I was like, yes, you can. His dad was a lawyer. And so, but it's like, that's also part of it. We have such an incredible culture here. We want to be part of it. We want to catalyze it. And we want to put our intentions in the right place with time and focus.
I'm laughing at how clearly we sound like our roles. It's like, hi, the people, the care, and you're like, I have this vision, and it's enormous.
It seems like the roles have been divided appropriately from what I'm getting here. All right, I have one side question for you. On your Instagram, your quote is daytime hustle, nighttime wanderlust. And I was so enchanted that I just needed to say it out loud to all of you and then ask you.
Those who know me are like, yeah, that makes sense. And I have this just longing for information and experiences. And it's just something that, because I think I grew up in a place that felt in a place of scarcity, and not only from a geographic standpoint, but from an income standpoint, I feel that there's so much world that I haven't experienced. And when I'm blessed to think about like the time, I can't believe it's super blessed, but I did. Yeah, I know, right? Is that there is nothing, the biggest commodity we have is time, and I need to use every ounce of it to drive forward my own experience, because the only thing that I'm here to do is enjoy this incredible passage of time. And that is why it is daytime hustle, because I love what I do here at Instrument. I love that we've created a place for 350 people to have full-time jobs and to do the thing that they love. And I also love that that hustle has enabled me to be able to travel and find parts of myself that I've left around the world and retrieve it and take it back here and give it back to this community. So I don't stop. I'm 24/7, and I never want to stop.
Nice. Tessa, you don't look like you want to follow that.
No, I don't. I'm not on Instagram, which has been a really...
You're not. She's not. I looked. I do have a question for you, though. I'm curious. I think as women, we always bring parts of ourselves from former parts of our lives, and that's a lot of what I want to talk about today with some of the women that you're going to see. We don't get to set things down and walk away from them. So what part of your life, of your personal life, of who you are, is most present in your role as the chief people officer?
Oh my God. I got a little like weepy when you said that. Let's see. I just think, I have a distinct memory of thanking the leaders that were here for giving me an opportunity to, my mom passed away when I was younger, and she was able to share with me, like, treat everyone fairly and love everybody the same. And I think I bring that with me every day, So anyway, I think that's the greatest lesson. We need to be fair. We need to be kind. We need to be, consistent. And we need to love everybody and just treat them that way. And I think I bring that every day, for sure.
Thank you. Can we give them a hand? They were amazing, and we're very happily sitting in their beautiful space. Thank you so Thank you. All right, we're just going to do a little set change really quick. Do, 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 do. And we're going to bring out our first speaker. Sylvia, will you please come out? Okay. While they finish moving stuff around and Sylvia gets comfortable, hello, I'm Cami Kaos. For those of you who don't know me, I have been behind the scenes in the Pi family since the very beginning of Pi, before Pi had classes and stuff, when they were just all kind of messing around in the downstairs part of Whiting Kennedy. So even though I don't know all of the women that we're going to bring out today, I have been following them all incredibly closely for years, and I am so excited to have an opportunity for me to catch up with them and find out what they're doing, but also to share all of that with you. So we're going to get started with our very first speaker this evening, Sylvia Salazar. Sylvia, are you okay? Want to take a seat?
Yeah.
All right. So, for those who don't know, Sylvia founded Tono Latino. And you founded Tono Latino as a result, as a response to a certain horrible person being elected to office.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we have come full circle.
Yes.
And that is happening again. Can you tell me something that you feel, how do you feel more prepared to protect the public, to care for the people you love, and to continue doing what you do with Tono Latino this time around?
Oh, so many ways, starting with the fact that now I have a community, like a lot of the people in this room, that I did not have the first time around because I didn't know anybody at all. Like, I was doing this by myself in my house, and then somebody who worked out with me told me about Thai. And that's how I ended up applying to Thai and meeting Rick. And then I needed a lawyer, and the lawyer introduced me to Juan Barraza, who's right there. And that's how I ended up having a community that I did not have the first time around. I also learned a lot of hard lessons covering that administration the first time. So I feel better prepared, and also I would say the past year, 2024 was very intense for me in a lot of great ways, and I met a wonderful group of content creators from all over, of all different kinds, and we have like support groups. We have really engaged group chats, and we like text each other and say like, hey, my Instagram video is like tanking, and they're like, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna go and comment, and then they all like support and like promote it and stuff like that, and it helps.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So like so many women I know, I am having to currently severely limit my news intake. I cannot doom scroll forever, and I was wondering if, aside from Tono Latino, which if you aren't all following, I really hope you're all following by the end of this evening, but we'll also make sure that links for all of the platforms where you can find her are in the wrap-up post, so don't worry about it too much tonight. Can you recommend a few places that we can go for reliable, safe information without being jump scared to death?
So I loved how you started this, because I also am very, very strict boundaries with myself about how I consume news. I'm a highly sensitive person, so I cannot handle a lot of video content or audio content because it triggers me too much. So I have specific guidelines for myself, knowing this about myself. I don't watch news at night. I actually rarely watch any news. My favorite consumption is Heather Cox Richardson, Substack author, whom I met in person, and I forgot how to speak English, and I forgot my own name, by the way. She asked me, do you have a name? And I only said yes. And I explained to her how much I love her, because she is, for everybody that doesn't know her, is a historian, a university professor, and she writes, I think, the most popular Substack out there, where she gives you the news of the day. It's written with links, so if you want to check the sources, she's got them all there. But she also gives you a historical context that me as an immigrant that did not grow up in the United States don't have. So she explains to me like, oh, in 1973, the Republicans did this and the Democrats did that, and then they got into a blah, blah, blah. And she explains it, but she doesn't dumb it down. And so she's like my number one news source, and I can read it, and if it gets too much, I can stop. And she's not clickbaity. So that one's the key.
That is very key. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you. All right, now, you're always doing something for other people. You are either doing something for your community, you're doing something for your family, you're doing something for your friends. And this is where I highlight that in October, we're going to be doing the Hispanic Heritage Month version of Where Are They Now? And Sylvia will be hosting. She'll be over here. Why? What keeps you going? What made you a person who gives back, and what keeps you at it?
Sharing is my love language. And if you don't know me, I'm a computer engineer that ended up accidentally doing this because of the first Trump administration. And like I mentioned, I didn't grow up in this country, so I did not know anything about politics. And I had to teach myself all these things. Like for me, the filibuster was just some weird thing that politicians did wearing diapers for hours and hours, and I didn't understand what was happening. And then I had to like teach myself all these things. And I think because I'm an engineer, I just love solving problems, and like whenever somebody requests something, I think it triggers something in my brain of like somebody needs me to help them solve their problem, and I can be that person. And so it makes me like super happy when somebody asks me questions. Like I'm like a dog with a bone.
I feel like I should have more questions for you to make you happy, but I don't. Sylvia, thank you so much. If these folks are looking to find you and follow you, where can they look?
At tono.latino on Instagram is I think the best place to go. Or my Substack, if you prefer Substack. Number one, follow Heather Cox Richardson. The name of her publication is Letters from an American, and mine is called Latino Lens on Substack. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. All right, Hazel.
Hi.
Hello, Hazel Valdez.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How about you?
I'm not bad. This is fun.
Oh, boy.
This is exciting for me. All right, so we're going to talk about chefs first, because no matter what you do in your life, I'm always going to think of you as Chef Hazel. So chefs have become such a celebrated and iconic role in many places, but especially in Portland, where we have maybe the best food scene ever. But it can't be all glam and riz. Tell us something that you're glad you left behind when you stopped cooking professionally.
I have two things.
Oh, yes.
The first one is the ticket, that never-ending noise of when service starts. And then when the last one stops, I'm like, oh, thank God. But the second one, which is probably the one I really am very happy about, is scheduling. So for those of you who've been in the food industry, food and beverage industry, if you've been in management, the call-outs are just constant. So I've had, hey, chef, I can't come in. I'm in prison. Cool. Or they just say, I don't have money to get a bus, so I can't come in. Or they just call out and don't give me a reason. So I don't miss that at all. I think part of the industry, unfortunately, does not take care of its people in a way that wants them to come back to work. And honestly, that is something that I still think about. How do we disrupt that more so that owners of restaurants and managers or management or food conglomerates and groups really value the actual employee? Because cooks get a bad rap, line cooks get an even worse rap. But if there's a way we can get some equity out of that, it would probably be a much better industry.
I assume if you had the magic answer that you would have already implemented it, but
Oh, yeah.
do you have any thoughts?
I'd probably fire everyone and start over.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure we can do that, so let's just move on to the next question. You have been creative as a chef. You've had to think creatively running a nonprofit, and now you are dealing with authors who are creative people. What's the common thread for you, and what makes you inspired and makes you want to work with these creative communities?
Okay, the common thread would be relationships. As a chef, I really counted on making sure I had relationships with my cooks, my suppliers, and definitely the customers. Because I want to know what they want to eat. I want to know what's happening in the immediate 5-mile radius, whatever that is, or I want to know the trend. With authors, one of the things authors can do these days is resist. And I love the relationships we're creating with authors as Literary Arts as the institution. We're giving them the platform to speak their mind, allowing still for that idea for promoting thought. And that thought is a form of resistance. We have a whole banned book section. We are not shy about who we're sharing that whatever it is, whatever literature is out there. We host them, we bring them in, and they tell their stories on a platform that we give them.
Nice. Tell us, you mentioned literary arts, so please tell us about literary arts. Everyone around the world seems to know that it exists, but nobody seems to realize that it's right here in Portland.
How many here have been to the Portland Book Festival? Yes. Okay. So literary arts has been around for 40 years. We actually celebrated our 40th last October. We moved to our new headquarters. No, this is the plug. 716 Southeast Grand Avenue. It is our new headquarters. We have a bookstore. I'm getting ready to also activate the cafe. And then the second floor is all of our administrative services. Our mission is to engage readers, support writers, and provide great literature for the next generation. We do that through our writer programs. We have, so many things. Writer programs, BIPOC reading series, LGBT reading series, Verselandia, slam poetry, public programs like the Portland Book Festival, OPB on Sundays, the Archive Project. We have Portland Arts and Lectures. Tonight is Everybody Reads at the Arlene Schnitz. And then we also have youth programs. Our organization works with Portland Public Schools and several other schools throughout the state of Oregon. We have writer in the school programs. When authors come here from Portland Arts and Lectures, they visit schools. Tonight is a historic night. We have 8 schools coming to the Schnitz, and Javier Zamora for the book Solito went to schools today. I think he went to 4, maybe 6, and all of those crowds were sold out. And that just tells you that Portland's still a really great book town. It's also a cafe town, so I'm really in a good spot right now. But yeah.
All right, I didn't give this one to you in writing because I didn't think of it until just now.
Oh, God.
But of the industries that you've been in,
Yes.
which did you find it most difficult to be a woman in?
Portland Women in Technology, UX WIT. It's difficult in the sense that the open doors closed up kind of around the time 2021, 2022 hit.
Yeah.
And it was hard for us as a nonprofit to get the support that we used to have during a time when we thought we had community. So being able to, I'll call that out. I'm being very honest. I closed that nonprofit for that very reason, because we couldn't get that support anymore.
Hard truths sometimes are ouchy. But that makes sense. All right, so she needs to get to the Schnitz because she has important things going on, which brings us to our last question. How many days a week are you at the Schnitz right now?
Besides having to be there in less than an hour, we're there 8 to 9 in the programming season, 8 to 9 times a year. And that because of the Portland Arts and Lecture Series, the Oregon Book Awards, which, by the way, I'm going to plug this because I'm from the Portland Incubator Experiment, Pi PDX. Walt Maury Award is going to a Pi PDX alumni, Jelani Memory. So, for his contribution of providing enriching work for the youth of Oregon. So,
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for joining us.
you're welcome.
You may run off to your next event.
Thank you. Bye all.
All right, Kat Miller.
I'm so nervous I'm going to fall, tripping over this.
Once you're seated, all the nervousness will end then, right?
Hey.
Well, hello, Kat Miller. Say hello to the people.
Hey. It's amazing people here tonight.
There are.
Yeah.
You were very early in the Pi family of founders, and you were in the third, arguably the most in-person of all of the classes. So I feel like we have a lot to cover. I just want you to kind of give us a brief synopsis where you have gone from the time that you landed in Pi to now.
Yeah, so I think one of my favorite things about pie was everything was named after a different kind of pie. And so we were coconut pie the third year, best year. I think Rick is wearing the shirt. Yep, he's got it on right now.
I texted her this morning to ask her which class of pie she was in, thinking she would give me the year. She responded with coconut pie.
Yeah, yes, because I don't know the year. It was that long ago. So I started my career in branding and advertising. I was a designer, and I switched into doing product management and product design, and I worked in product agencies. I helped Fortune-tier companies build and ship amazing products, and I specialized in devices. So everything from like a 10-foot screen to a 2-inch, wearable. And kind of through that experience, learned that maybe there was a better way for designers and PMs and other people to build prototypes. And so we had an idea. We took it into Pi. You nurtured our idea. You were very kind. We went through Techstars, and then I transitioned being the CEO of that company, doing fundraising, and did that for a while. And then we decided to shut it down. And I spent the next few years kind of taking those skills of being in advertising, being in branding, doing product management, doing leadership, doing design and product design, and I took that and I was able to help really ambitious founders ship amazing products and brands, doing a lot of that 0 to 1 work. And during that time too, I was able to become a mom. So I had 2 kids. And so here I had this life, we're chugging along, 2 kids, had a 4-month-old, and then suddenly our lives just changed one day, one July 4th, and took a turn.
So we're going to talk about good things come from hard things, and we're going to have a hard conversation right now about Kat's youngest child, Cypress.
Yeah.
And the position that they found themselves in as a family and what has come out of that. So how did you use all of that experience, everything that you had worked so hard for, to build Foxbox? First of all, tell everyone what Foxbox is.
Yeah,
and then tell us how you did it.
So I'm here to talk about my nonprofit, Foxbox. We support infants and their families through long hospital stays. We've supported over 120 families and babies and their siblings across 5 different children's hospitals around the U.S. And so our lives changed on July 4th. We walked into Dornbecker Children's Hospital. I had a 4-month-old who was just kind of not feeling well, but, we're like, oh, we'll go home maybe the next morning. And then we didn't go home for over 2 months. He was diagnosed with a very rare form of leukemia. Actually, our children's hospital had never seen it in a baby. And so suddenly went from like having a very clear path to living in this new world. And I think what was so hard about it, other than the shock of it, was realizing that there are lots and lots of babies who aren't in the NICU who are in the hospital for various reasons. We had 5 other babies on our oncology floor. And so we had baby parties and play dates while they were getting their chemo. And trying to find that normalcy in a very, not normal environment. just to say, our baby, his name was Cypress. He was a complete extrovert, and he would be so stoked that I'm here today. He would be just living the limelight. He loved people. I walked him 3 to 5 miles a day around the hospital floor in a carrier just because he had to be around all of his people and his family. And because his form of cancer was just so rare and so hard, we never knew if we could get to the next step of treatment. And we finally got to a point where his treatment didn't work anymore. And so kind of right at the start of the pandemic, he sadly passed away. And kind of in that experience, the way I coped with it with my designer and product brain was I tried to figure out the system of how the hospital worked. And one of the biggest pieces for me was noticing the lack of resources for infants. If you're not in the NICU, but you're in, say, any other floor on the children's hospital, there's just a complete lack of resources for babies 0 to 12 months. And so it was really this moment of grief, this heartache at the height of the pandemic. And it was like, well, what can we do about it? And we can try to fix something. And so kind of taking all of the skills, all the fundraising skills, I helped other CEOs raise money, I helped them build products, helped them build brands, and was taking that and then applying it to helping other people. So it was almost like every lesson in my career was coming to this point to be able to build something that could offer meaningful change for other people living in the middle of a crisis.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming and telling us today. Kate, I got it. Thank you. I think it would be lovely to end on a higher note. Can you tell us a story about how Foxbox has impacted others?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll keep it brief, but sometimes when I tell this story, I'll have a slide behind me, and I want you to picture a ray of sunshine nurse in the pediatric intensive care unit wearing an Ergo baby carrier and a baby with a giant smile on his face. And that baby also has a breathing machine. And so it's a story of Caroline and Jonathan. So Jonathan was in the NICU for about 8 months. And kind of in that process, he was transitioned into the kind of bigger kid ICU so he could work on getting a breathing machine so he could go home. And they were having a hard time with that. And so his nurse, Caroline, saw a Foxbox that we had delivered to another family and saw the Ergo baby carrier. So we were very fortunate to partner with Ergo babies. So every single family has a choice of a carrier when they get a Foxbox. And suddenly, Caroline was able to get them a box. And she worked with his hospitalist, his main doctor, his lung doctor, and his physical therapist to come up with a plan to put him in the carrier. And suddenly this baby who was kind of stuck in a bed was able to be held for longer than 45 minutes at a time. He was able to get socialization. He was able to see sunshine for the first time. And that was something that came out with our work in the ICU, is that a lot of the babies that we work with, the Ergo baby carriers allowed them to get out of their room and see sunshine for the first time. And so when I kind of think about the impact of Foxbox, I think about it in the sense that we're able to give these amazing nurses, the amazing providers, the occupational therapists, the physical therapists, the speech pathologists, we're able to give them tools that they can use to improve the quality of life of the babies in their care. And then the families get to take that home. So it's that kind of lasting impact, and we're just so fortunate to be able to kind of partner with amazing brands like Ergo Baby, Baby Einstein, Baby Tula, Slumberkins for this area. Yep. Their donations allow us to have a bereavement program. They're amazing. And so, we just kind of view ourselves as kind of that connective tissue to find the things that families need and get them to them when they need them.
Thank you, and thank you. And also thank you. All right, and it's time for Winta. Hello. everybody please welcome Winta Yohannes? Albina Vision Trust is a meaningful but also significantly challenging project. What drew you to it?
A few things. You know, when I took on the role, I was at a point in my career where I no longer wanted to do something, I wanted to build something, right? And so I remember going to one of the early Albina Vision Trust presentations when it was really a set of high-level values, and the idea was just emerging, and I asked how I could help, and that's when I got roped into being the executive director. So. But at that time, again, there were values that were established, there were early conversations, but the organization didn't yet exist. So I came on as the first executive director, and we were really building towards the actual master plan for development in the middle of COVID in 2020. And what I witnessed in that time was that, you know, while the city was shut down and we were in this moment of crisis, people kept showing up for the Albina Vision work. We would be on these Zoom calls at 11 o'clock at night, and people were still participating. 4-year-olds, 90-year-olds were there dreaming about the future, sharing their ideas, and wanting to be actively involved. And so that's the spirit that drew me to the work and what has kept me there.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very cyclical sounding.
Yeah.
As someone who has spent time in city government, what do you think startup founders could learn from the private, and private sector folks could learn from the public sector?
Yeah, I think there's this notion that politics is really transactional, and that might be true overall, but my experience is that local politics is really relational. And so that's always my number one advice, is to go build relationships, not only with the elected officials, but with people in city government that mostly are drawn to public service for really good reasons. And then beyond building the relationships, you know, Portland has an incredibly dynamic culture. There are all of these cool events, the passion that founders bring, the community that exists in our business community is unique. And so to the extent possible, bring people into the experience of the thing that you're passionate about, and that is what leaves the lasting impression that makes the kind of longer term policy or other systemic work possible. And then it's always better to do it in a group than as an individual. So find your people. There are incredible associations. This is where I have to plug Better Portland, formerly known as Better Business PDX. But there are incredible business groups like that that will allow you to be part of a group advocating and partnering with local government, and that is always a place not only to advance your business interests, but also to continue to build community.
Thank you. How would you say being a woman has impacted the role that you took? Actually, the role that you made, essentially, the role I want to help, here.
Yeah, well, you know, it struck me the statistic earlier about how many...
6%?
6%.
Our name's John?
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what that is for women developers, and especially for Black women developers. Yeah. My suspicion is that it's probably less than 1% of Black women that hold the roles that I do, and probably still less than 1% for women overall. And so I guess the way it's shaped it is that, you know, the Albina Vision work, for those who are not familiar, is now the nation's largest restorative redevelopment effort, right? We are seeking to build a place that is intentionally centered around the well-being of Black and brown children. There's no other effort like this anywhere else in the country, which means there is no roadmap for how to get there, right? We are building it as we go, and the experience of being a Black woman in this developer seat is similar in that there aren't easy roadmaps for how to pull together the kinds of deals that we're trying to pull together, or the ways that we're engaging in this business. So it just takes again, community and a sort of fearlessness, right, to just keep moving forward and finding the path.
So much of what everyone is talking tonight is community, and I find that to be very special. For students who may be listening, how did a liberal arts college like Reed equip you for your role and your life?
Did I hear some ladies in the audience? At Reed and in liberal arts education in general, you're encouraged to think across disciplines, right? So I majored essentially in psychology, but I studied how social science can inform good public policy, right? So you're encouraged to find the connection points and the intersections. But I would say more than that, what really stuck out at me from my time at Reed was the ways in which college campuses overall provide a really protected and unique learning environment for students. And, the physical space of a college campus is really intentionally designed actually to build community in ways that other parts of the city are not, right? You can wake up, you can walk to wherever you're going to eat, you're going to go sit in the quad, and you're going to find your friends and lay out in the grass, right? So the physical place actually enables the kind of community and the kinds of special experiences that we associate with college. There's no reason that we can't design neighborhoods and even cities in similar ways that facilitate connection as opposed to the opposite.
Bring back the community again. Thank you so much, Winta, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's time for Ada. Hello.
Hello.
I did not ask you how to pronounce your last name before we started, so I'm going to try to do it on the fly, and I apologize in advance. Ada Nikolaidis?
You got it.
Woo! All right. Ada's also from Pi. You came up with an exceptional idea while working at an ad agency. What did you bring with you from the agency experience to the founder experience?
Yeah, so I think one of the things, my entire career has bounced back and forth between sort of the pillars of arts and technology. And one kind of that through line has been trying to find places to line those things up. I mean, coming into an agency in a visual effects role was a real interesting awakening, and kind of bringing that into the founder experience was this understanding of realizing that your work, part of building something meaningful, part of building something complex, part of building something challenging, is that you're working with so many people who are bringing so many different things to the table, and sort of understanding what those folks are showing up with, what things they are passionate about, how they are thinking about ideas, and trying to build on top of that, meet them where they are, and kind of draw on that wealth of experience that folks were bringing to the table. And so part of the thing, in working in some of these VFX productions that we were doing, is the idea that you have such a huge team of people from, copywriting to art direction to people even on the team where you're working with artists who are doing 3D modeling, who are painting textures, who are going through and doing motion tracking and rigging and things like that. And so part of, I think maybe the biggest thing coming out of that was that idea of trying to get a better understanding of both how people were able to kind of show up and contribute and what role they could play, but then also how to give back and help them build their careers, and how to help them find things that they could be satisfied with, that they would be excited about, that would help them track with their passion and go from there.
That sounds like more community.
Yeah, I mean, very much so, very much so.
So tell us a little bit about what you founded, and then talk to us about the experience that you're having now, which is winding down a company.
Yeah, so myself and my partners Ryan and Tony, we founded Cloneless Media. What we created was and again, very much kind of came out of our experiences in agencies, is it was a technology platform for automating versions of things. And so effectively what you would do is, we always like to say, you don't make the first version easier to build. In fact, it's often more labor intensive because you have to think through it harder and think through all of the different variations and types of things that you want. But then if you want to make versions 1 through 1,000,000, we make it dramatically more simpler and more powerful. Part of the kind of underlying motivation there is seeing people spending so much time and so much of their effort and creativity on going through these rote mechanical tasks to make hundreds of versions of something. And so we kind of kept seeing this problem occur over and over and over again, and wanted to build a way to make things faster, more responsive, more creative and reactive.
This question was not on there because, again, reacting. Do you find it more challenging being a woman in technology or in the arts?
They both come with similar and different challenges. I think that ultimately the through line to me that is very similar to both of them is that idea of, again, it's like kind of understanding who your people are around you, building that community, building those allyships, and making everybody stronger together ultimately. And so I think that there are kind of differences between the two, but I don't compare them as being kind of harder or easier. I think it's just the thing that you're making at the end of the day ends up being kind of a little bit different.
Speaking of the thing that you're making at the end of the day, what's next for you?
Right now I'm working for a company that is a joint project of University of Chicago and Argonne National Lab. And so we are building a platform that creates collaboration tools for researchers. And so folks who are working with giant data sets and need to move petabytes of data around so that they can run, different models on supercomputers, and kind of helping them get their data in the right place at the right time so that they can work with each other, and folks who are working at the instruments can deal with, researchers who are in remote labs and things like that.
Again, community.
Yep.
And that's amazing. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I love it. We've got an incredible team of people, just a lot of really passionate folks who are really connected to and motivated by helping the customers who are ultimately these researchers who are doing life-changing, earth-changing stuff. And so, I think it's really good. We get to connect with those folks and see the impacts of the things that we're building and how we're helping to move science forward.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Ada.
Absolutely.
I love talking with you. And now it's time for Jocelyn.
Okay.
Hello, Jocelyn.
Hello.
You and I have never really had a chance to sit down and talk, but I think you're fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
And
I think you're fantastic.
I follow you from afar. And you're great.
Thank you.
Everyone, this is Jocelyn Rice.
Hello.
All right, you've done big corporations, you've done startups, you've done art. What is your favorite form of professional expression?
I think my favorite form of professional expression is all of those together. So business, art, advocacy. The brand that I started, Black Earth United, is about telling stories of the Black experience outside through clothing, and it's really about also not having a fashion brand that extracts from communities or extracts from the earth. And so putting all of those things together and having the joy of working in corporate, working in nonprofit, working in startups has been really helpful in navigating that.
Nice. We're going to have another difficult conversation, but it's going to turn out great because she's amazing, right? You did not have the smoothest path coming up, and still you managed to be the kick-ass woman that you are today. focusing on this, we always bring parts of ourselves. What parts of you did you bring with you from earlier parts of your life when you were not making the decisions that you wanted to make and you weren't where you wanted to be?
Sure. I think being loving and like leading with love, even in times when I was making really terrible decisions that left me homeless, put me in jail, kind of experiencing bouts of depression. This was in my teenage years, early 20s. I think I always just wanted to be loved. I mean, I grew up in an abusive household. Like it's like a Lifetime movie kind of thing. And so
I totally hear you, yes.
I think that but I always led with love, and I always feel like I was very loving to those around me, and having that carry through my life has been helpful for me.
Nice. I like leading with love. You touched on Black Earth United, and I'm hoping that you're going to tell us a little bit more about it, but basically the big question is, why would you start Black Earth United in the whitest city in the country? We are so white, y'all.
Yes, we are like 1.9% of the population here, but why not, I guess? I mean, it's where I live. My family came here over during the Great Migration and settled in Eugene. My grandfather, Sam Reynolds, was going to work on the railroad, but when they got here, they realized, oh, they can't live here. You can work, but you cannot live.
Oregon never had its stuff straight with any of this.
It was a very kind of NIMBY attitude with enslavement of not in my backyard situation. So I think carrying that legacy forward in some capacity and more of an artistic capacity is important to me. I think we were talking about how many people leave here and how hard it is to be here as a Black person or as any non-white individual. And I'm sure it's hard for white folks too, so I don't want to discount that, but I think it's difficult to stay. And so I think if I left, I wouldn't be doing my family, I would be doing them a disservice, and that they didn't have running water. This was 3 generations ago. My dad didn't have running water in his home, and it was because the state didn't want him to live here. They destroyed their homes time and time again, every time they tried. And so I think being here, even though I've thought of leaving, and I've left and come back, and left and come back, is critically important to me.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
With Black Earth United, as I have followed you on Instagram, I have seen some pretty amazing outfits. And I'm just wondering if there's one design, one outfit, one piece that you've put together that you've made that spoke to you the most. And if you can tell us about it.
Oh my gosh, that's really hard. I think I do really like bringing different pieces together. It's like making an entire outfit, but part of the outfit comes from secondhand. Part of it comes from being community built. Another part of it comes from me making in my home. And when I was a designer in corporate, hunting and fishing was my favorite thing to design. It's so utilitarian. I was a very method type designer, so I learned how to hunt, I learned how to fish. I went tarpon fishing on the flats in Florida. I have hiked across the Alaskan tundra. I've heliboarded. And so, but I think that those really utilitarian outfits, so my favorite one is like a pair of hunting pants with a t-shirt that I made that has Harriet Tubman stamped all over it because she is my muse for everything. And then a pair of Tims that I repurposed. So I think just kind of bringing all those things together into one was that whole outfit.
Nice. If these folks would like to learn more about you and follow you, where's the best place?
At Black Earth United on all of the things.
On all of the things. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Katharine.
Okay, got it. Just
getting microphone instructions.
Getting microphone instructions. Rachel, am I using the microphone right? She's actually going to come check, though.
You gotta hold it above the blue tape.
I don't have blue tape. Okay. My therapist has asked me to work on that. Katharine Reinhold.
Hi.
I'm just going to start by saying thank you on a personal note, because you are the new executive director of Built Oregon, and the interim director of Built Oregon was really cranky. So thank you. So everyone, welcome Katharine. You're the new executive director of Built Oregon. So often in instances of this, people question your experiences in business without thinking about lived experiences. Can you talk about the lived experiences that you're bringing to Built?
That's such a good question. And I have to say, the interim director has been very helpful and very on call for my million questions.
He will continue to be helpful.
Okay, so lived experiences. I moved to Portland in 2011, and I moved here with the intention of creating a home. So I hadn't, growing up, I grew up everywhere. I moved 17 times before I graduated high school, and then kept that moving up as a young adult. Not to the same extent as a child, but it was just sort of like what I knew. And in 2011, I had 2 small kids. They were 3 and 4, and I wanted a different life for them. I wanted a home. And so I picked Portland and moved here. And part of creating home here, something that was really important to me was getting involved in the community. And I was lucky enough to meet Mitch Doherty, the founder of Built Oregon, and he gave me the gift of getting involved. He invited me into the Mentor Network, and I just thought it was the coolest thing how this city comes together to support the other business owners, and I just never stopped showing up, and so they finally gave me the dream job of executive director.
Collaborative, not competitive. It's a lot of Oregon. I'm going to ask you a question not on the list. We talked about it earlier, though. I have been watching Built Oregon since the beginning, and I expressed to you earlier that it's a very manly brand.
It is, with the trucker hats and the hoodies.
With the trucker hats and the hoodies. How does it feel to step into such a masculine presence?
Well, I do feel like the founder and the interim director have been very welcoming, and actually Built itself, although the initial leadership was all male, the idea behind Built is helping founders who don't get help from other traditional methods, and that includes a lot of women, a lot of BIPOC founders, members of the LGBT community, so it does feel really welcoming, although we are going to need to get something beyond trucker hats and hoodies in terms of Built merch, but we can work on that.
I mentioned it because I would like some more She Flies merch, actually.
I would like that as well.
Okay, fantastic. You kind of started in tech, and then you shifted to consumer packaged goods, which we're just going to call CPG for those of you who are not in CPG. And now you're CPG all the way.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I was noticing as I was listening to all the other amazing women who were sitting here before, they have non-linear career paths, and I think we all have the kind of winding constellation
Just
paths.
a quick show of hands. Women, who has a direct career path? Who was like, I'm going to be this. I'm going to be a doctor. You went to medical school. You became a doctor. Christina, anyone else? Anyone else have a direct? No? Okay.
I feel like our 18-year-old selves would be really disappointed by this.
Mine wouldn't, but
We thought we had to have everything figured out, right?
I did think I'd have everything figured out. But yeah, how did you go CPG all the way?
Well, I've been in a lot of different industries in tech, and then being around the CPG community with Built, and then also I was at Adidas for a good long time. The problems just aren't that different. Everybody's looking to innovate. Everybody's looking for how to listen to their customers in more effective ways. Everybody's looking for how to lead their staff with empathy and effectiveness. And so it doesn't feel like that big of a shift for me. And when I look at our mentor network, we have about 200 mentors across Oregon that help with the startups that built Serves, and they're from all different kind of industries. So I think it's just like, it just doesn't feel that different, really.
Nice.
I mean, instead of tech, it's hot sauce.
I do like hot sauce more than tech. I'll be honest, I worked in tech for a long time. It was very stressful. Last question for you.
Yeah.
You are a voracious reader.
I am.
What are 3 books that you would recommend for this audience during these incredibly trying and stressful times?
I'm looking at the countdown clock, and there's just not enough time. Okay, so 3 books. This is my favorite question.
It's true. I can give you an extra 30 seconds if I want.
Okay, if you ever are looking for something to talk to me about, this question will always work. Okay, so first is Lost Connections by Johann Hari. This one's a little bit controversial because it deals with depression. I'm not a mental health professional, so I can't comment on that, but he basically says that the cause of depression is lack of connection to our community, to each other, to meaningful work, to a secure and hopeful future. And when I think about that, I think like, well, why aren't we all depressed?
I mean, have you seen the pandemic?
Right. And his recommendation is events like this. Come together, form community, get involved, meet your friends, meet your neighbors. So it's a great book. Next one is, I think everyone's reading this right now, Mel Robbins' Let Them. Yeah, a lot of nods in the audience. So you know, people are going to have feelings about you. People are going to say, who does she think she is? Like, let them. And don't put your energy towards that. Put your energy towards the things that serve you. And then finally, this one is a little bit more fun. It's called Joyful by Ingrid Fettel-Lee. And this is kind of like, I think the subtitle is something like The Surprising Power of Things to Bring You Joy. And it's like the anti-Marie Kondo. Don't throw stuff out, bring stuff in. So like painting your walls can lift your mood, literally. Having more plants around your space can make you feel creative. Little pops of color can make you feel playful.
Did you hear this? We all need more plants.
Yeah, so I like this one because it's not too serious, but it like just gives you little tips on how you might cheer up your space. I would just say if you're going to go out and buy some things that Ingrid recommends, shop local because Jeff Bezos doesn't need any more of your money.
Thank you so much, Katharine.
Thank you.
All right, we've got one more, and I just want to tell you before I start talking to Julia that I love her very much. And so if I ask her to say scary, hard things, she said I could. Hello, Julia. Everyone, please welcome Julia Niiro.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
All right. We're going to go straight on the card. You founded a startup that by many definitions was extremely successful. It brought you to Y Combinator. It brought you to Pi, Techstars. You gave a TEDx talk that has more than almost 40,000 views we checked last night. It brought food to a lot of people, my family included. I see some other faces in here that I know used to get food from Milk Run, and now that company is gone.
Yes.
Tell us about it. Tell us about what it was, and tell us about where it went off the rails.
We have how long? We're going to start? All right.
We have a little extra time. We're okay.
Neat. Yeah, well, this is fun. This is probably the first time I think I'll have had the opportunity to share this story in front of an audience. So this will, be patient.
We're all going to be a little patient. Give it a little extra grace.
Yeah, I mean, it began a lot in Pi, which was amazing.
Well, tell us what Milk Run was.
Yeah.
Tell us about local Milk Run.
Milk Run was, I started Milk Run to solve I just feel like this is not loud. Okay, great. As a farmer, I became a farmer in 2014, left the corporate world when I found a group of chefs who were living on a farm in Portland where that's popular. I did not know that, but I was very enchanted. So quit my job, became a rancher, and also part of a team that took over USDA meat processing facility down in Canby, Oregon, and then I really realized as so many say, that we don't really have a food supply problem, we have a distribution issue. So how do we actually get food from rural communities into more densely populated areas where people can afford it and they need it and they want it, and how can we make that easier? So it was kind of a play on helping farmers with their logistics, so helping pool goods in rural communities and then bring them into the city for much more cost-effective ways and deliver those goods directly to consumers' homes.
If I'm not mistaken, though,
Yeah.
the farmers were also being paid more appropriately for their goods than they would if they were being distributed at the grocery store.
Yeah, and for what that means through that lens, because it's a huge world. So
Yes.
when we're talking about through a more traditional commodity market, for example, farmer receives about 10 cents of every dollar spent on food. When you go to the farmer's market, you're paying a retail price for those goods. That's great. What we did was we kind of hit this spot about where restaurants kind of purchase. So it's wholesale-ish. I would not wholesale like through traditional distributors and that kind of margin, much more closely related to like what a local chef at a restaurant would go and purchase those goods for. So yes, extremely livable wage for farmers. Well, extremely livable. Sorry, that doesn't exist. But better.
Yeah, better.
Better.
Okay, so
That was Milk Run, what it was.
You created Milk Run. It was amazing. Lots of great food delivered to your door, and then you expanded.
Yeah, I was in Techstars. We've been rejected by YC, finished Pi. Pi was instrumental in kind of how we began. That launched us into Techstars. And that was in March of 2020. I was on a flight home from Boulder where we had an in-person event. I was going back to the farm, and I got a text from my CTO that was like, hey, something's happening. I think it's related to this flu kind of thing that's going on, but orders are really growing, and I'm getting nervous. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll be home in 2.5 hours. Not cool that something's happening, but orders are okay. And I got off the plane.
Nice problem to have.
We did not realize at that time what that meant. Just to give you a frame of reference, our sales went from $40,000 a month on average to almost $1 million within an 8-week period. We could not stock goods fast enough. And mind you, this is the same time that all the restaurants had shut their doors. So the farming relationships that I had, these are farmers who were completely panicking. It was spring. They're looking at fields that they had planted, for restaurants, and they were, as far as they could tell, they were done. They were out of business. But I was fortunate enough to have had the role at that time to call every one of them and said, bring me everything you have. We cannot sell it fast enough because of our customers. They were making the choice at that time to buy from local farmers, which was quite a thing to witness.
But where did it go off the rails?
Well, I will say we did a lot right. We did so much that I'm proud of. We scaled an essential business. I led a team of essential workers. We hired as fast as we could. We wanted to make sure we also prioritized a lot of the restaurant workforce here that had lost their jobs. So, it was badass. It was awesome. We did something I thought would be impossible as a team. And I would say, when we were in Portland, we were meeting that moment. I knew we had to take advantage of the moment. I am a founder who was very clear when I went in to startups, to business, to Milk Run, that I want to believe that we can change the world. And for me, what that meant was, okay, we had to take what we've done in Portland and prove it was not a fluke, prove that we could do it again. So with Techstars, the promise was we were going to replicate and we were going to take it to Seattle. That's when Y Combinator called and they said, we want you to be part of what we're doing. And
I'm sorry we rejected you. Please come play with us.
Yeah. I think I called Rick and I was like, what do I do? He's like, it's YC. I was like, it's YC. So yeah, I said yes. So actually, I went through Techstars and Y Combinator in 2020, both that year also. And the goal of that was to launch Seattle. Seattle was incredibly kind to us. We ramped that city up, and under 90 or about 90 days to get profitable, break even, which is cool. We moved into the old Rainier factory, and then I was sleeping on the warehouse floor because we also had to launch cities when hotels and things were shut down. So literally slept on a warehouse floor for like 6 months, and then. After YC, we were able to land, really substantial, amazing Series A. And what they wanted us to prove was that it was not just a Pacific Northwest fluke, but that we could it was actually a national thing. So I was, okay, we're going to Austin, Texas, and we built that market. Where did things go off the rails? I think we were just kind of this. And I always knew it would be challenging. We're a mission-driven company. We're operations. We're logistics. We're, we're grocery. So there's not really a margin you're working with. You're just trying to keep kind of cash flow, and customers happy. That was our job. So we were. Anyway, I do not want to go totally into all the boring business things, but it was complicated, and there were 3 markets. That we were managing on trying to make everybody happy. And we also had a workforce, a lot of them who were kind of new to startups and at speed. I was a mess in a lot of ways. I think I could have led so much better. I reflect on who I was. I did my best, but those were complex times. There were so many small things I think we could have done differently, maybe, but you can only, hindsight, that thing they say about it. But ultimately, we went out, we were a venture-backed business, so we had a plan. I was meeting with the board like every 2 weeks, and I was like, we're on this plan. But we were one of the startups who went out for our next round of funding in April of 2022, which, as people will say, is when the nuclear winter of startup fundings kind of happened. And we were part of a portfolio we were kind of the last in, our big VC portfolio. And I just said to my CFO, how long do we have? And there were certain conditions I was not willing to extend beyond. I wanted to make sure if this didn't work, that everyone had a severance, that everyone got paid. How do you end well became the next question, if that was possible. So I worked my butt off, and so did the company and every single person there, to see if we could make that next round. And the choice was can you take it down to brass tacks and maybe run one market again? Those things were possible, but we were a team, we were a company, and it didn't feel like I was going to do anything without that was who we were. That was what it was, and if it wasn't that, then we had to think about how to elegantly end something that meant so much to so many people. So we made the choice to do that.
How was that choice? Was that, I imagine it was a long, drawn-out process of feelings. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
It was, we made, or kind of when the money hit the point, but basically, where it was time to call it. That was, that was about almost 18 months ago, or I guess almost 2 years ago, and then what that meant in the process took about another, 8-9 months, and I was down in Austin, and I didn't, I had not been paid for a bit, so I also was like, well...
Wait, so you made sure everyone else was paid and taken care of, but you didn't take care of yourself? How unwomanly of you.
Well, what I did do was, we had a warehouse and a lease that was paid out, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to take all of my personal items and the assets of Milk Run, and I moved into that warehouse too, which was in far less jazzy condition in the Austin heat, and I, opened up a vintage market, and also the weird corner where you could buy refrigerators. That was cool, and a huge community showed up, and then it became this like warehouse where all these business owners and just people would come just to kind of like also be sad. I think they were like, oh, there's one person who's sadder than me. I'm going to come in here and hang out. And I was like, all right, cool. And then they would buy some stuff, which was great, really nice, you know. So I did that for a while we were closing. And then it took me about until this November to come home and to get back into Portland, where I now am. So I'm very happy to be here.
I would like to know, because I want to end on a lovely note,
Yes.
what is something that became a part of you during the milk run experience, during the whole ramp up? What's something that changed you as a person that is going to be with you, and it's going to affect how you approach the world and people?
I have two answers. But I witnessed magic, you know. It's incredibly emotional to think about what people do when they need to. I mean, it was the greatest privilege of my life. I got to be there and lead, like these people let me lead. And just seeing them meet that moment every day and what we asked of this team, and with the customers, just how they continued to support us. And I don't know, it was magic. It's magic, you know? And then also just on a bit of a personal, my father passed actually, in that same year with the closing, so a lot of loss. But I say that because, you know, we've talked about the company, but there's always the people behind the company, and life is always happening. And I think a piece of me that I'll take is, you know, that I heard later, like, grief is love with nowhere to go. And I bring that up because, you know, I had this job and we witnessed this magic and so much love, and there is a time where that goes, you know, and that grief that followed, it deeply changed me as a person. I think it's just to love so many things that, you know, you just those experiences. And what's next from all of that is, I guess, the story that has not yet been written. But I don't know. I take these things now very seriously. You know, who's around, and we've used the word community a lot, and it's a very serious word because it's a very serious path to healing for us all, and it's not a small thing at all. We all have a lot to learn about who we are and what we can contribute, and the kind of magic we can witness together. And I don't know. I think that what I know now is that, and not much else. But I
think that's
I hope
pretty
that
good.
goes somewhere.
I think that's pretty good.
We'll see.
All right, Julia, thank you so much for sharing with us. You don't have to. You stay. Thank all of you for joining us. And if there's nothing else, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Have a few conversations, but let's try to clear out of the space and let everyone who needs to get home this evening get home at a more reasonable hour. We will have a post-event recap that gets posted in the next few days. But if you have any questions, go ahead and respond on the meetup group, or come and find me or Rick or Stephen or Juan, and we'd be happy to chat with you. Have a great night, everyone.